My early return from a girls' trip to surprise my spouse ended in shock when I found evidence of an affair with my coworker in our own bedroom. Confrontation uprooted months of deceit, forcing me to rebuild my life away from betrayal and reclaim my power. I never thought I'd be this nervous about packing a bag. I'm Laura, 34, from Seattle, Washington, sitting on the edge of a rumpled hotel bed in Santa Barbara, California, of all places, zipping up my last suitcase. My heart's racing like I just crammed for finals all over again. I slide my phone into my purse, thumb hovering over the screen. Mike will never see this coming. With a deep breath, I type, "Almost home," and hit send. Dings almost immediately. Great. That's it, just one clipped word. I force a smile. He must be slammed at the office. It's a Tuesday after all. Better he's busy than suspicious. I flip the hotel door open, the ocean breeze chasing me down the hall. 2 weeks with my college girlfriends, laughing at old stories, drinking cheap rosé, dancing under string lights, was supposed to be a gift for our 10th anniversary. But today, I'm cutting it short. I'm hopping a red-eye out of LAX tonight and crashing through the front door of our Seattle townhouse tomorrow afternoon, roses in one hand, our anniversary cake in the other. He'll come home from work, the look in his eyes swapping surprise for relief, and we'll toast a decade of us. I pull my carry-on behind me, trying not to bounce it against the walls. My phone buzzes again. Drive safe. Short, distant. I grit my teeth, classic Mike. Loyal to his work. Forgetful of romance, but he'll love this. Suddenly, my finger hesitates before typing. Can't wait to see you. Something about the pause feels odd. I shrug it off. He's swamped. I check out, tip my hat to the clerk, and step into the brilliant California sun. It's nearly blinding, the kind of day that makes you believe everything will go perfectly. I call my sister, giggling through an excuse about an early flight. He won't know what hit him. I whisper conspiratorially. She asks when Mike will expect me. I say around 3 p.m. See me coming down the driveway, in jeans and a stupid grin, and that's when the magic happens. I stash my phone in my bag again and roll my suitcase toward the shuttle. Every bounce of those wheels sparks a happy flutter in my chest. This is the plan I've rehearsed for hours, the surprise that will fix the tiny cracks of long nights apart and forgotten date nights. But in the back of my mind, Mike's tone in those texts echoes lonely and clipped, like a door closing instead of opening. Still, I shove the thought aside. Tonight, we celebrate. Tomorrow, I love you will feel brand new again. I step onto the shuttle, and as the driver pulls away, I press my forehead to the window, watching Santa Barbara recede. My grin feels unstoppable. Mike, I think, you have no idea what's coming. Until I get home and find something I never could have planned for. I slammed the rental's brakes too hard and froze in the driveway, breath catching at the empty spot where Mike's car should have been. Seattle's overcast sky pressed down around me, matching the sudden weight in my chest. I grabbed my carry-on and darted out, toes crunching on gravel that felt somehow foreign beneath my feet. My heart, still thrumming with excitement, wobbled into confusion as I tiptoed around the side garden to the front door. The welcome mat was askew, the lock still warm from Diana's spare key turn undoubtedly left for Mike on Sunday. Nothing about this felt normal. Inside, house was too quiet. No soft hum of the espresso machine, no Billie Eilish drifting from Mike's home office, not even the dog, Baxter, scratching at his bowl. I slipped off my shoes, padding through the foyer until I heard it, a low murmur behind the bedroom door at the end of the hall. My pulse spiked, the excitement I'd carried from California curdling into something else entirely. Footsteps slunk down the hallway, mine, faltering, drawn toward that closed door. Adrenaline radiated through my veins as I paused just short of the knob. Candles, party hats, a banner celebrating 10 years. My breath caught in my throat, mind racing with visions of Mike's surprised grin. I steeled myself and turned the handle, only the latch moved. The door was locked from the inside. My hand shook as I wrenched it, heart pounding so fiercely I thought Baxter in the next room must have heard it. Instead, all I got was the hollow click of the latch. My pulse hammered in my ears, each beat a warning. I remembered the spare key tucked in my purse, left behind in the scramble to surprise him. Of course, I'd forgotten it. Classic me. I considered retreating, calling Mike to say, "Hey, I'm here," but a knot in my stomach urged me on. I backed up, kicked the door once, twice. No answer. I sank to my heels against the wall, head spinning. The soft scrape of fabric on carpet told me Emma, Mike's coworker, was in there too. My skin prickled. A clang of something falling inside made my knees go weak. I scrambled to my feet, fumbling for my phone, thumb hovering over Mike's contact. What could I even say? "Your affair is locked behind this door. Slap the key on the counter so I can celebrate our anniversary." The words tasted bitter. I shoved the phone away and pressed my ear to the door. Voices, muffled, urgent, spilled through the wood. Neither sounded like a romantic setup. My pulse thundered in my throat as a wave of nausea curled in my gut. With a trembling hand, I gripped the cold brass knob again. I could back away, grab my things, drive to a hotel, and pretend none of this was happening. Instead, every fiber of me screamed to see it, to know for sure if this was the surprise of a lifetime or a nightmare I'd never wake from. And then, what I found behind that door would change everything. The knob spun in my trembling hand, and when the door creaked open, my breath hitched like I'd run a marathon. Inside the bedroom, morning light slanted through half-drawn curtains. On the edge of our bed sat a woman. Emma. I recognized her glossy hair and the sharp curve of her jaw. She was half-dressed, sheets pooled at her waist, cheeks flushing the same shade as the wine glass on the nightstand. Mike stood beside her, buttoning his shirt, eyes wide as if he'd been caught in headlights. My stomach convulsed. Betrayed. My voice stuck somewhere behind my ribs. I closed the door with my back, heart pounding thunderous apologies or excuses I couldn't hear. "Laura," Mike's voice cracked as he stepped forward, one arm outstretched. But I stumbled past him, eyes locked on Emma's face. Her apology tumbled out, soft and urgent. "I'm so sorry, this wasn't supposed to happen." I barely heard her. Everything blurred. The damp curl of Emma's hair, the way her hand flexed on the sheets, the wine glass sweating cold droplets on the lacquered nightstand. My mind flashed to our honeymoon suite, where I'd stayed up nursing a fever, and he'd held my hand all night. Now there was nothing between us but this stranger. I swallowed, voice catching. "Get out." It was raw, an order I didn't know I could give. Emma's eyes flicked past me to Mike, her lips parted in a silent plea. She stood, gathering clothes, embarrassed, angry, ashamed, all at once. Mike watched her go, shoulders slumped as the door clicked shut behind her. Silence crushed the room. The only sound was my ragged breathing. Mike's face went pale. He opened his mouth, closed it, cleared his throat. "Laura, I can explain," I laughed, a single hollow bark that echoed off the walls. "Explain." My voice trembled with every syllable. "You explain why you're in my bed with her and she's not me." He rubbed a hand over his face, eyes desperate. "It was a mistake, she's just a colleague." "A mistake?" I pressed forward, fists clenched. "A mistake you've been making for months." My words tumbled out, accusatory and hot. "I found texts, Mike. Flights. Late-night coffee runs you said were for work." His shoulders jerked, and I saw the flicker of shame, the brief collapse of his guard. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never meant to hurt you." My chest ached, betrayal twisting into rage. "Never meant to hurt me. You've been lying to me for months while I was planning this, while I was flying home because I love you." His gaze fell. "Laura," I slammed my palm against the nightstand. The wine glasses rattled. "Don't." I swallowed hard, tears stinging. "I came here for love. Mike, not this." My voice cracked, heart breaking into fragments I wasn't sure I could piece back together. He took a half step forward, voice raw. "What do you want me to do?" I stared at him, chest heaving. All the breath I'd ever needed now gone. "I don't know." The words barely rose above a whisper, then louder. "I need you to tell me everything." He exhaled as if bracing himself. "Okay." And in that instant, I saw the minefield of months stretch between us. Each unspoken word, each secret meeting. I pressed my back against the doorframe, waiting for the truth that would shatter us both. I slammed into the living room, the door rattling against the frame, and all I felt was a hollow ache where certainty used to live. "Why, Mike?" I shouted, voice echoing off the high ceilings. My hands trembled at my sides, nails digging into my palms. Baxter, our loyal mutt, looked up from his bed, tail thumping hesitantly against the hardwood. I hated that even he seemed confused. Mike followed me out of the bedroom, shoulders hunched like he'd aged years and minutes. He sank onto the couch, eyes fixed on the floor. The late afternoon light filtered through the blinds, painting stripes across his shame-faced expression. "Laura, please just let me explain." His voice cracked. "I never meant for any of this to happen." I circled the couch, fury and grief coiling in my gut. "Explain," I spat, "how you can call this a mistake." My voice hitched. "You weren't drunk. You weren't tricked. You chose her. Don't start with she seduced me. You're the one who sends the texts at midnight." My heart thundered each word, truth, accusation, betrayal. He pressed his palms to his eyes. "I'm lonely, Laura. I feel like you don't notice me anymore." The words landed like blows. "Work's been crazy and Emma was there. She listened. It just happened." "Lonely." I laughed, bitter and raw. "I flew across states to surprise you. You hide with your colleague behind a locked door." My voice broke, tears stinging my eyes. "Is that what I've become? Someone you can ignore until you need someone to listen?" Mike looked up, eyes red. "I love you, I do." His voice was small, almost pleading, but I made a terrible choice. I sank to the floor opposite him, knees against my chest. The couch felt miles away, an emotional chasm between us. "How long?" I whispered, bracing myself. "How long has this been going on?" His eyes flicked away. "About 4 months. 4 months, 120 days of half-truths, lies, stolen mornings and evenings I thought were ours. Who else knows?" My voice shook. "Friends, family," he hesitated. "No one else." Relief blazed through me, quickly snuffed out by the scale of his confession. I swallowed past the lump in my throat. "Why her?" I forced myself to look at him, his face crumpled. "Because she was convenient, because I was stupid." He ran a hand through his hair. "It meant nothing, just a mistake." I closed my eyes, the word echoing hollowly. Mistake, a slap in the face. "It meant nothing," my voice soared. "Do you know what it means to me, to our marriage?" I pressed my fists to my temples as if I could block out the noise of my own thoughts. "You broke every promise we made, the vows, the anniversaries, our plans." He reached out, trembling. "Laura, I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make it right." "Anything." I let out a harsh laugh. "Then start by telling me why you didn't tell me sooner, why you chose to lie every single day." My chest heaved. If you loved me, why? He sank back, quiet. The only sound was Baxter's soft whine. I stared at Mike, eyes burning with betrayal and exhaustion, waiting for an answer that might never come. And in that suffocating silence, I realized that some questions might be too dangerous to ask. I collapsed onto the couch, the cushions swallowing me as the echo of Mike's half-hearted "I'm sorry" faded. My mind drifted, and spooling scenes I'd shoved away. I remembered last November, our 10th anniversary morning. I found a card on the kitchen table, unopened, his handwriting scrawled across the envelope. I'd assumed he was planning a surprise. He always was. Instead, I stared at the blank paper inside later that night, tears pricking my eyes as I wondered if 1 year he'd simply forgotten me. Another memory, February's blizzard. I'd called him 3 times, begging him to come home early. He'd stayed late at the office to finish a project, and I'd curled into bed alone, my phone glowing empty. I told myself it was okay, he'd make it up to me, but he never mentioned the project again. March. I'd caught him texting when I walked into the study. He'd flipped the screen, pretending it was work. I'd smiled and walked away, even though my stomach had dropped. I told myself I trusted him. I thought of last month's date night. I'd booked that new Italian place downtown, candles lit at home before dinner. He called 30 minutes in. Traffic, he said, but I found receipts for a late-night coffee run that matched Emma's name in his contacts. I'd let it slide. Coffee with a colleague, right? Now each memory felt like a fractured promise. I traced a hand over the couch's worn armrest, fingertips grazing hidden splinters, remnants of the love I thought was solid. Guilt swirled in me. Why hadn't I pressed him harder, asked more questions? Why had I let his excuses soothe my worry? My chest ached, a cocktail of rage, grief, and regret. The house felt like a museum of our life, framed wedding photos staring down at me, laughter trapped in glass. I pressed my palms to my eyes, needing the darkness behind my lids. I pictured the night before, how I'd texted Mike from Santa Barbara, "Miss you," and he'd replied hours later, "Busy day." I'd convinced myself it was fine. I'd convinced myself of a story that wasn't true. Shaking, I stood and wandered through the living room. Each step hit splinters, little betrayals I'd ignored. I paused by the mantel, our wedding picture, Mike smiling at me across a field of wildflowers. I reached out, fingertips grazing his face behind the glass. My voice trembled. "How did we get here?" A distant bark from Baxter jolted me back. I realized I'd been holding my breath. Question hung heavy. Was there anything left to salvage? Could I ever trust the man who'd rewritten our history? I sank to the floor, back against the wall, knees drawn up. My heart pounded with urgency. Somewhere in the attic was our old anniversary scrapbook, photos of every cake we'd cut, every candle we'd lit. I needed to see it to decide if those memories still held truth, or if every page was tainted. With a trembling hand, I stood and stepped toward the staircase. Dust motes danced in the shaft of light from the window above, guiding me upward. Because the next memory I needed was hidden in the pages of our past, and finding it might be the only way to know if our future was worth fighting for. I cracked open the kitchen drawer and pulled out the manila envelope I'd swiped from Mike's desk, my hands shaking so badly the papers threatened to slip away. I spread the contents across the table, screenshot after screenshot of whispered texts with Emma, dates labeled coffee run and late dinner, the very ones he'd told me were harmless. Bank statements lay beside them, charges for fancy wine bars at midnight, bouquets of flowers addressed to her office. My chest felt like it was being squeezed in a vise. Mike hovered at the edge of the kitchen, eyes red and hollow. I didn't look at him. I just kept laying out the evidence, one brutal piece at a time. "Here," I said, pressing a text onto the table. "I miss you, can't stop thinking about our secret smile. You sent this in March. That was our anniversary month." My voice cracked. "You promised me you'd be different." He closed his eyes, swallowing hard. I lifted another printout. "And this, $120 for dinner on April 15th. You said you were at the firm's retreat." He opened his mouth, closed it. Tears glistened on his cheeks. "I'm sorry," he whispered, the words so small they almost didn't reach me. I slammed my palm against the laminate surface. Plates rattled in the cupboard. Sorry doesn't cut it." My voice rose. "You lied about everything, the nights, the weekends, the empty promises." I pointed at the statements. "This wasn't a fling, Mike. You spent my money on her." He sank onto a chair opposite me, head in his hands. His shoulders shook with each quiet sob. "Laura, I was lost," he choked out. "I didn't know how to tell you. Work was killing me. I felt invisible." His voice broke again. Emma listened. I leaned forward, voice low and fierce. "You felt invisible. You felt lonely. Do you know what I felt every time you canceled our plans, every time you ignored my calls?" My throat burned. I felt worthless. My tears fell so hard they blurred the edges of the papers. "Do you even hear me?" He raised his head, eyes glossy with tears. "I love you," he rasped. I never stopped. He reached across the table, fingertips hovering over the photos. "I was stupid. I'm so sorry." I recoiled as if burned. "Don't touch me," I whispered. My breath came in ragged gasps. "I need to know why. Was it just loneliness, or did you want her more than me?" The words spilled out raw and loud. He swallowed, jaw trembling. "It started last New Year's," he admitted. "We were both at the holiday party. She was there for support after her breakup. One thing led to another. I tried to end it, but she threatened to tell everyone. His eyes flicked up, begging. I was trapped. My knuckles whitened around the edge of the table. You let her trap you, I said. You let her break us. Heat roared in my ears. Is there anyone else, or is she the only reason this house feels like a prison? He closed his eyes, the confession hanging between us like a guillotine. No one else. He looked at me, broken. It was just her. Silence crashed in. My heart pounded, tears flowing unchecked. I realized that this confession, this pain, was the final fracture. My life with Mike, the promises, the shared dreams, had been built on lies. I drew in a shaky breath, voice barely above a whisper. I need time. And as his tears dripped onto the table, I knew that time might be all I had left to heal, to decide, to survive. I wake before dawn now, but not by Mike's coffee brewing or Baxter's wagging tail, by my own restless mind. The bed feels too big without him next to me, but I don't reach for the empty space. Instead, I slip out, toes cold on hardwood, and pull open the suitcase by my desk. Inside are clothes I haven't worn since college, bright colors to remind me I still exist outside this heartbreak. Therapy is on Tuesdays at 10. I sit in Dr. Nguyen's cushioned chair, tracing the grain of her wooden desk. She asks how I'm doing. I say, better than yesterday, because screaming into a pillow isn't an acceptable update. I learn to name feelings instead of being swallowed by them. Rage, sorrow, doubt, hope. Days the hope is a thimble, others it spills over. At home, I lean on my friend Karen, who shows up bearing macaroni salad and old photo albums. We flip through a stack of pictures. Our high school graduation, our wedding day, a blurry snap of us at a drag show last summer. You deserve better than hidden phone calls and midnight lies, she says, folding my hair behind my ear. I nod, tears welling, and for a moment I let myself believe it. Mike's messages flood my voicemail. I miss you. Please forgive me. I'll do anything. I don't delete them. I hold my phone trembling, then put it on mute. I'm not ready to hear his voice. Maybe I never will be. I draft an email to our circle of friends. I type, delete, rewrite, I'm taking some time away, no details. My finger hovers over send until I remember I can't hide this forever. I hit enter, walking Baxter in the neighborhood. I pass houses that echo memories. Our first barbecue, the New Year's party where we laughed too much. Each door feels like a question. Why didn't you see it? I close my eyes and breathe, remembering the warm coffee I once made him in the morning. I don't know if I'll ever make coffee for anyone again. In the evenings, I sit on the porch with a book, something light, a thriller I won't analyze for hidden betrayal. I drink tea in my favorite mug, the one with the cartoon fox. Tiny comforts stitch small seams in my heart. One night, I find the old key to our door taped under the countertop. I hold it in my palm, cold metal against warm skin. I almost turn it, almost unlock the past, but I tuck it into my pocket instead, a promise to myself that I'll choose the locks I need, not the ones that trap me. As days pass, the knot in my chest loosens just enough for me to breathe without pain. I don't know what comes next, reconciliation or final goodbye, but I know I'm not the same. I'm Laura, 34, learning that survival isn't staying. It's moving forward, one small step at a time. Tomorrow, I'll take another. I stood on the front porch just as the sun spilled gold across our street, the air crisp enough to make my lungs ache with each breath. The house behind me felt like a chapter I'd finally closed. Every window, every step on the floorboards, a memory edged in both joy and sorrow. In my hand was the small ring of keys, heavy with the weight of everything that had happened. Mike appeared in the doorway, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. He looked smaller somehow, shoulders slumped under the too bright morning. In his pajama shirt, he resembled the man I'd first fallen for, kind, earnest, full of promise. But the weight of his mistakes still shadowed him. I slipped the keys into his outstretched hand. Here, I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. I'm going away for a while. I need space to figure things out. His fingers closed around the keys, lingering on the cool metal. Laura, his voice cracked, as if breaking under the words. Please, I met his gaze, feeling both steel and something tender below. I can't stay right now. The morning light caught tears in his eyes. I love you enough to know I need more than apologies. I need time to be myself again. He swallowed hard, nodding once. I understand. The words were ragged, but he meant them. If you ever want to come back, I'll be here. I managed a small nod, remembering our vows, our always. This moment was different, it was honest. Thank you. I turned away, each step down the porch echoing a new cadence, one of my choosing, not his. Baxter padded beside me, nose to the air as if sensing the shift. I patted his head, heart full of both grief and relief. At the sidewalk's edge, I paused, glancing back once more. Mike stood in the doorway, keys in hand, shoulders squared despite the heartbreak. He watched me go, the morning sun haloing him, and I realized this farewell wasn't an end. It was a beginning of healing, independence, and whatever came next. Neighborhood stretched out ahead, each house a silent witness. I inhaled the fresh air, taste of promise on my tongue. My suitcase was waiting in the car, but I didn't rush. I let the moment settle in, that bittersweet clarity that sometimes to build something new, you must first let go of what you knew. I stepped onto the street, leaving behind the keys, and the life we'd shared, knowing that no matter where I walked from here, I carried the strength to face what came next.